members present, I do declare a quorum. We will take a moment to recite the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We, in our moment of silent prayer, we ask that everybody please remain safe, and our prayers go out to all those that have family members and loved ones, friends and neighbors, relatives that are fighting this pandemic, and that we all do our part and reach out to them and try to assist everyone as much as possible. The next item is open forum, and from what I understand, there is no one that decided or elected to sign up for open forum. Is this correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
So we'll move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda, items 5 through 11. Does anyone wish to comment on this as director?
Yes, ma'am. This is Rod Chavez, if I may. I just had a quick question on item number 11 on those water rights. What, if you can remind me again, Mr. Grijalva, what do we gain and how much do we pay for those water rights?
Okay, so what we have to do is we have to initially pay, I think it's, who would know? Mr. Atilano, Marta, you might know how much we have to pay initially for the water rights. But all of that money comes back once the El Paso Water refunds the customer for payment for the water rights. So it all comes back to us. We just have a pass-through expenditure that we have to pay for the water rights ahead of time to process them through the Water Improvement District and El Paso Water. But then we get reimbursed and then some. We're actually making money on the water rights once they get approved by El Paso Water.
Okay, well, in the future, if you could just give me like a breakdown of how much we pay for those water rights, and then what's the benefit to the Lower Valley Water District?
Yeah,
it's just I'm not quite clear on it.
Okay, so I think Mr. Hernandez, is it $100 per contract, or is it right? So that's what we're paying.
Yeah, you don't have to answer today.
Oh, okay, good.
Just research it and let me know, because I know since we're not getting irrigation water, so how is the El Paso Water Utilities providing either additional water, or how are they paying for that? Do they even want these water rights anymore? Over.
No. The water rights are important, okay? The water rights sustain us through the summer. We have allocated 4,000 acre feet to El Paso Water in water rights. Depending on the year, when there's a full allotment, they get up to 2 feet of water, okay, which is a lot of CCFs. It's about 2 times the water that we normally use throughout the year. When there's little water, they still get an allotment just like everybody else. So they can use all of the water that they can get from the water rights. In fact, we should be giving them more before they come looking for us and tell us, hey guys, for our contract, we haven't looked at the water rights you owe us per connection. You owe us much more than what you're currently on the books for having given us. So the water rights are important. Even though there's a small allotment, it's still a lot of water that gets through El Paso Water and eventually to us. And
but what I want to see is the benefit we get, because right now, as of April 1st, the El Paso Water Utilities just raised our rates on the water. 40, what was it? 44%, 46%? It's
91% total.
Yeah, for both water and sewer, correct? Yeah. So if you could just in the near future, if you can give us a breakdown of what kind of benefit we get for getting those water rights.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We do get a credit for them. We do on a yearly basis. Okay, we'll work it up and have I guess it's a finance committee meeting.
Mr. Blanco, are you on there, Mr. Blanco? Yes, you are. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not so much about the benefit, it's about what's in the contract that we're required to give them a certain amount of water rights, right?
Yes. Yeah, we don't have a choice not to.
We don't have a choice,
And,
Yeah.
and we're actually short of that number.
right? And so there's times we run behind on the water rights.
right.
and-
Call using internet audio.
I'm sorry?
Sorry about that.
Oh, okay, I thought someone was talking to me. And so, yeah, I guess, Mr. Grijalva, maybe some of the directors just need to get an update on how that works, but
Yes.
we don't have a choice.
Right.
That's an
Okay,
agreement.
all right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so, Mr. Estrada, do you have any questions regarding the consent agenda?
No questions.
Mr. Trujillo?
Mute.
Mr. Estrada? I'm sorry, Mr. Chavez?
Sorry, no further questions. Thank you.
And Mr. Carrasco, I guess you don't
Nope.
either.
No questions.
Mr. Trujillo, I don't believe he does. With that in mind, I go ahead and move that we approve the consent agenda. All those, do I hear a motion?
I second it, David Carrasco.
Second by Mr. Carrasco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Before we move on to the regular agenda, I just wanted to kind of remind everyone, I know that there are several individuals that are totally against the vaccine, but it's really open and there's quite a few out there and they're encouraging everyone to take advantage of it. UMC is open, I believe now, or will here shortly. UTEP, I guess, is going to have them as well. Dr. Roberto Canales off of Treywood and his office on Curry is open from 1 to 4 on Saturday and Sunday. And all you need to do is call in. If anybody's interested, please feel free to let me know and I'll provide you the information. So there really isn't any excuse if anybody wants to take advantage of it. I think we need to allow, if we need to, have employees, get out and go take their vaccine. But these are all open on Saturday and Sunday. And I just kind of wanted to give an update there. Okay. The next item is the regular agenda, item 12, General Manager's Report, Mr. Grijalva.
Okay, so here we go. All right, can you guys see it?
Yes.
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 Okay, so there you go. You see the first slide? Board meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so we're good. Basically, I'm going to talk about some of these projects and Mr. Trujillo, in the interest of time, we have to move fast through them, but I do owe you a list of all of our projects and how we're progressing on them. We'll either, if we have a special board meeting or if we have the next regular board meeting, we'll make sure that we have a slide for each one of the remaining projects that isn't on this list. These are probably the important ones, and we'll go through it. You'll also see some of our projects when we start talking about field operations and regulatory enforcement. So those are there as well. Mesa del Norte, so far, this is the way it's looking. We've pretty much done what we need to do there, pending the property acquisition that we're working toward in that area. This is Hidden Valley. This is I think it's a subdivision in its second phase, over close to Bowman Road in off of North Loop in Socorro. There's two borings that are occurring at this time. One there, and then the other one at Paseo. What is it? Something del Rancho. Oh my goodness, where the pallet manufacturer is off of North Loop.
Rancho Viejo.
Rancho Viejo, off of Rancho Viejo.
Mhm.
Board members have been, some of our customers have actually told the board members that they're a little bit irritated with that boring, but that those borings have nothing to do with us. They're being done by the subdivision developers. Okay, So we refer the developers to the city of Socorro to see if they have any ordinances against noise. We can't do anything about it because it's not our project. Lourdes and Conquistador, that one's moving smoothly. We are still working on the acquisition of one more piece of property, but everything else, the engineering is continuing and we're working toward getting that project underway. Here's a new one, and we'll be talking to our legal counsel about this one. In a previous meeting, something about maybe a year and a half ago with our finance committee, we were told if we're going to put any ground storage up there in the East Lake area, that we want to make sure that somehow we can get the developers to pay for it. We do have a solution. It's in the form of an impact fee. We're researching what it entails, how we're going to work the details for a $1 to $2 million project, which will give us a tank in that area to be able to provide adequate water to the subdivisions that are all cropping up in the East Lake area. So that would be a impact fee. If we can work this out through Mr. Blanco and his group, that'll be an impact fee type situation that we would work toward. This line, we finally got the actual what do they call them? They call them receptors, I think, to make sure that the line is being maintaining itself pretty well. So all of that is functioning. We've also uncovered the remaining manholes. We're going to remove the vegetation so that they can further assess the pipeline and then tell us what remediation we have to do on that particular pipeline. That is the major pipeline that feeds from Jonathan Rogers all the way to the Mitchell tanks. Manhole assessment project, you see the ones that really require some work. We already let out the contract for 27. The company we gave the contract to is already actively working on it. They have a projected start date of May 10th. Two of them have collapsed. One of them is in Rio Vista, and the other one is about to collapse on the intersection of Passmore and Socorro Road. These guys can say that they can do those in a day, which is going to save us a ton of time and money, and even I guess help with our relationship with the city of Socorro because we're not blocking their roadways.
And Mr. Goody, how about this, Rod Chavez? The quick question, if you can go back, can you explain the legend to me? If it's red and it's got a high structural score, what does that mean? Is it good condition or bad condition?
That they're about to die. Yes.
Oh, so high. So a high score.
It says don't drive over them, basically.
Okay, so high score is bad.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
As you can see, there's no green, so we've got to.
I was looking for that.
There's no green. We've got 1,100 manholes that are in bad shape out of the 4,000. So it's about a quarter of our infrastructure in manholes. We'll work through it. We'll get there. This is basically what the inspectors have been doing. Again, it sort of gives us an update of what we're doing with regard to our lift stations, our operations, make sure that everything's running smoothly and well inspected, even when we have in-house projects. And I'll accentuate that as we get further down the line. Customer service, this is what it looks like for customer service. We still don't have I guess the profit margin, for lack of a better word, the income margin between the expenditure for the invoice cloud and the benefits from it, or the IVR yet. It's going to take another 1 to 2 months to fix all the kinks in the system and get everything running, make our customers comfortable in using the system, And then we're going to start to see some savings on our side. Right now, we haven't seen that savings to some degree, although we do have a lot of people signing up for the program and getting their e-bills as well. We do have a lot of customers come in because they have to, either to provide us forms or to fill out forms or to apply for new service, provide deposits. And most of the time we try to deal with them through the customer service window. If we can't, we meet them in the lobby, which is got a totally isolated air conditioning system now. This is what our meter readers are doing. Again, we're still waiting on the meter money to be able to buy our meters. So a lot of what we're doing is still manual, but we're hopeful that a lot of this is going to disappear. We're working toward using some of our own money so that retroactively we can bill it against the meter money. If we buy 2,500 meters now, we can actually help our meter readers reduce their workload by 50% if we put them in the right place. And that's what we're looking into at this time, to see if the Texas Water Development Board will authorize us to go through the bid process so that we can get this going, even though they still haven't approved our engineering designs. And one of my questions is, we're installing water meters, why do we need engineering designs? And so let's see what happens. New installations, we can see that it's rapidly going up. Our new installations personnel are busy, and it's because of all of the developments that are cropping up in our district. These are the water rights that we're working toward as well, and we'll explain that to again, the finance committee once we meet. We're getting ready for the water season, which is going to be maybe 2 to 3 irrigations. It's going to be an easy year for our water rights technicians. We're working also toward getting a better handle on our collections. We do send our collections normally to our collection agency. However, just like everybody else, the collection agency, if they don't see money in it, they're not going to put the effort toward it. So that's what we're seeing now. And we're probably talking about maybe trying one or several other companies going through the bid process so that we can have a diversity in the collections, and maybe somebody will be a little bit more proactive and make some money off of all of our outstanding debt. Records management. Okay, field operations. This is the new installations that we had this month, and some repairs that we had to do. The paving cuts that we've had to do as well, going back. And then this is probably the slide of the month. Basically what they're doing here is they're installing the manhole in, oops, I'm sorry. I messed up. They're installing the manhole in the initial part of the Pioneer project. I wish you could see the bottom of the manhole. It's actually in 2 feet of water. So all of the people here, you can see them wearing boots. So this week we're going to get our money's worth out of our cleaning service, because these guys actually went out and got really dirty. So kudos to them. Basically what we've done here is, if you guys remember, several years back, the project cost was $500,000. We just saved, by bypassing the water table and any dewatering at all, we just saved about $250,000 by installing this one manhole. The rest of it is going to be really easy to do. And all of this is being done in-house.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
These are our IT projects. We finally got our GIS person in. She's doing an excellent job. We're working toward automating all of our business processes, which means everybody that works for the district is going to have to submit a work order. Okay. And with that work order are all of the necessary attachments that we need to keep a record of. That's going to reduce our records management department scanning to a very large degree, make us automated to where anybody in the district who picks up a phone to answer a question can look it up in the Munis system and provide the customer with a answer rather than just forwarding the phone to whom they think is the best appropriate person to answer the question. That's where we're going with all of this. We're going to give iPads to all of our field personnel. Whoever can't do this off of a phone, some of them need iPads because of the complexity of what they're doing and the speed, so that all of it can be automated out in the field as well.
Well, that's good.
These are our tickets that we've had. We also had security training conducted by IT. We've got about, Ryan, can you tell me how many people, what percentage? We're at about, what, 60%, 70%?
No, I think we're only missing a handful of people.
Okay, so pretty much we're about to complete all of our security awareness training for this year for all of our personnel. I think I mentioned this last month, that we actually had a hacking situation where people tried to get into a person's email and convince them to provide some sensitive information. And I think several of them failed, and we told them, okay, you need to take the class for sure. Again, cybersecurity incidents, we know where they're coming from, and we so far consider ourselves very fortunate to be protected against them. UTEP did get hit, and we do have connections with UTEP on our GIS infrastructure, but none of that affected us. We're hoping all of the users will start to increase as more of them start to use our e-billing and system to be able to pay their bills. Let's see. Oh, these are our vehicles. Okay. We did have an emergency this past Sunday and Monday, again in lift station 9, which is the Campo Veo, Rio Violento, FM 1110 in San Elizario area. And we did have a spill that we have to report to TCEQ. At the same time, we've fixed the situation to where it's manageable until we're able to finish fixing that lift station 9, which is on Thompson Road and De La Rosa. This is our backflow inspections that we've done for the year. They're moving right along. We're getting them automated. If they input the information into Munis, our GIS technician is able to port it to a GIS so that we can actually get a visual of what they're doing and how they're progressing in that. And that's what we're going to be doing with a lot of our performance metrics for our personnel. This is a regulatory enforcement department. These are the lift station issues that we're having. That's the one of the spills that we had. As you can see, all of those wipies are still causing a huge problem in our sewer infrastructure, our wastewater collection systems infrastructure. And we're working through it. We're looking into the possibility. We're going to need new pumps, first of all, but secondly, we have to protect our pumps. So we're looking into the possibility of what they call muffin monsters, which are shredders that shred this stuff before it hits our pumps so that this stuff doesn't damage our pumps the way it's been damaging them. This is the amount for the haulers. We have to check this. I don't know that we vetted this through customer service, but that's what the total looks like for the month of March. Or January, yeah, the month of March. And again, the pilot, I have to vet that through customer service to make sure that we build according to what it shows here. But the pilot is, just the pilot alone is making a huge positive influence to our district with regard to the income generated from it. Solid waste. Those guys always do well. They constantly keep putting a lot of commercial containers out there. So far, the price of diesel has gone up, but we see a very minor effect to our overall costs for the remainder of the year. As you can see, the work orders are increasing, and we find ourselves adding solid waste personnel to our roles. And that's our customer count for customer waste, for solid waste. And then this one. This one's going to occur in San Elizario on May 1st. It's one of the community cleanups that's actually funded by us. So we're going to work this one. The one we did in Morning Glory yielded some extra money. So we're going to use the remainder of that money for the community cleanup in San Elizario. We've already had a meeting with the city of San Elizario regarding this, and they're ready for it. Human resources. In human resources, as you can see, our personnel issues have gone down to a trickle. So what we're doing is, I think you guys asked me for a climate survey. We will implement the climate survey next week. And so we'll be able to give you results of our climate survey with regard to how people feel about their supervisors, managers, the district overall, and the administration. And we'll be able to give you guys results on that in our May meeting.
And how are you going to handle that? I mean, that's going to be confidential, correct?
Yeah, well, here's the way we do it. The same way we do our COVID questionnaire. Basically, what we're doing is the COVID questionnaire asks you what department you work in, and then it asks you all of these health questions.
But how do they get it? Through their email or through
On their phone? They can do it through the phone.
So how can it be confidential if they're going to get it through their phone? Because then you're going to know who did it.
No, the software we use doesn't capture the phone number or the email. It captures coming into the link. So all it's going to tell us is somebody came into the link. In fact, we can't even tell you who it was. Good. We do ask a question about what department they're in, only so that we can actually see what we need to do to fix our individual departments. And that's it. Other than that, we don't know who answered it by either the email, the phone number, the app, whatever it is. We just know that these are the results of what somebody provided in that department.
And the employees understand, and they've been trained on that, right? Because employees have the tendency of being or wanting to speak up in fear of, you all in management or the board knowing who did it, which I believe needs to remain confidential so that they do open up.
Yes, they're going to be told that it's confidential. And here's what I told the managers. The incidents of personnel issues have gone down to the point of that there's probably, after 2 to 3 years of us doing this, there's probably some level of trust that if we tell them, look, guys, it's confidential, that they're going to actually deal with it as something that they can freely speak their minds on. Now, having said that, you always have a percentage that aren't going to reply to the survey no matter what. So we can live with that as long as we're able to do something with the information that's being provided.
Okay. Oh, they're going to come back and say, oh my God, we love our board. They're the best. Yeah, right.
Hopefully
Of
they
course.
will. Hopefully they will. Okay, did everybody come back? Yeah. All right.
Yep.
That's it, guys.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
Did I say everything you needed to say about the survey?
come again?
I'm asking Sabrina if I said everything that I needed to say about the
Oh,
survey.
okay.
Yeah, I think we're good. We sent out an email today with the instructions and just reminding everyone that it is confidential. We can't even trace the phone number to it. And we will send it out tomorrow. It'll deploy from Tyler Notify.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions for Mr. Grijalva? If not, so we can move on.
No questions for me, ma'am.
No questions.
None for me.
No question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Grijalva. Item 13, consider and take action to approve fiscal year 2020 financial statements audit performed by Peña Briones, McDaniel and Company. Mr. Peña, welcome.
Well,
Thank you.
good evening. Thank you and welcome everybody. It's good to see you all virtually as it may be. It's good to see everybody. I hope you all doing well. I'll try to summarize this 96-page report in a shorter version and give you what I think are the highlights of the report. I hope you all did receive a copy of the 5-year summary, the 5-year financial summary that I'd like to give out, because as I've stated before, I think what's important to look at the organization, not just the fiscal numbers for today, but what kind of trends or changes that we've had over this 5-year period. Do you all have that 5-year report? We did send it out. I'm just hoping everybody did get a chance to review it. And so that's what I'll be touching on. And if you don't have it, just stop me, or if you have any questions during the report, I'll try to cover it to where it makes a little sense and does have a trend analysis. First and foremost, looking at this from the bird's eye view, I call it looking at the forest rather than the trees. You all have just grown tremendously. And, it's something obvious to you, but coming in from the outside and being able to see such tremendous growth in a short period.
Year 16 through 20.
I'm sorry? So anyway, what I want to do is just acknowledge that we've had such growth. And the reason I'm stating this on your current assets, I always like to start out with, how's the organization doing with liquidity? Do we have liquidity to handle our day-to-day needs? And are we able to financially survive with actual cash? And what I want to point out on this report that you see now in front of you is that your current assets are sitting at $26.2 million compared to current liabilities of, use the term only, $7.1 million. That's a 3.6 to 1 ratio, which quite honestly is a fantastic working capital ratio. I think I've told you before, anything over a 2%, a 2 to 1 ratio is considered very good. And you're up at a 3.6. And you've consistently been up at 3 to 4 times your your current asset. So your working capital and your liquidity has been a very, very successful number throughout the years. So the 26 million is 3.2 times the 7.1. The other important factor about the current assets of $26.2 million is that's representing a $4.5 million increase just over the previous year. That's a 21% increase in current assets in a 1-year period. Now, I will point out that your current liabilities also went up by $5 million. So that one could say, well, we borrowed more money and therefore we have more money. But you have grown substantially. If you look back at 2016, where we had $22.8 million, and now we're all the way at $26.2 million in current assets. Again, obviously a $4 million growth there. In our total assets this year, we're sitting at $186 million in total assets, and that compares to 176 just 1 year ago. That's a $9.9 million increase in a 1-year period. And again, if you look back as many as 5 years ago at 174, you're up $12.8 million, about a 7% growth in this 5-year period. And that, again, quite honestly, is extremely substantial. And I will point out also that this was a COVID year. A lot of businesses, a lot of organizations, a lot of municipalities, a lot of not-for-profits suffered this past year. And quite honestly, you all had the opposite. And I think you'll see in the management discussion analysis that was pointed out that COVID was, forgive me for saying this, but COVID was quite nice to your organization because as people stayed home, they utilized more resources, and as a result, some of the revenues for the organizations came in, as well as the tremendous growth that's occurring on the east side. All of these have benefited you all, but you all also have benefited the individuals by providing the services, maintaining liquidity, and maintaining strong growth. So back to the current the total assets sitting at 186 million over 176 in the past year. If you look at your current liabilities, you'll notice your current liabilities grew not quite by $1 million, 6.2 to 7.1, and your total liabilities grew from 20 million to $25 million, about a $5 million increase. The majority of that increase was about 3.4% increase in the bonds, a slight increase in the unearned revenue, and also a slight increase in the pension liability to add up to the $5 million increase in the current liabilities and in the total liabilities. But if you'll take a look at the 5-year picture, your total liabilities were at $21.7 million 5 years ago. So quite honestly, we've actually had a $500,000 reduction in our total liabilities over this 5-year period, while at the same time, we've enjoyed a $12 million increase in the total assets of the organization. So the organization has grown by 7% in total assets, and it's actually basically reduced the total liabilities by 0.5%. So again, a very, very strong financial picture for the organization, not only currently, but over the past 5 years and continuing. Going into the next line, the total net assets. Net assets, as you can see there for 2020, are at $161.7 million. And let me point out that that is a 3% growth over the past year with $5.4 million coming in. So again, during the COVID period, you all grew in overall unrestricted revenue by $5.4 million. So significant growth. Again, let's look back over a 5-year period. 5 years ago, you were at 148.3 million. Today, 161. That's a $13 million increase and close to a 10% increase over this 5-year period. Tremendous growth and tremendous capacity with the liquidity and the retainage. How did this happen? Or the next few lines, our total revenues. Again, look at the growth in revenue year after year, 18.8, 19.4, 20, 24, all the way to $25.6 million in total revenue generated. I'll ask you not to go over there, but in your financial statements on page 15 is where you can look at your leisure, the increase in revenue. And it wasn't one item that increased. Your water meters increased by about $400,000, wastewater by 250, solid waste by 360, other fees by 500,000. So you had good ratable growth across the board in revenue that generated this additional $1 million in revenue this year. On the expense side, you can see that you actually reduced your expenses a small amount from 20.6 million to 20.5 million dollars. But again, let's look back 5 years ago. 5 years ago, your total expenditures were at 16.6, and you've grown to only 20.5. So 5 years ago, we had a $2 million difference between our revenues and our expenditures. Today, we've got a $5 million differential between our revenues and expenditures. So you've been able to provide the services, retain the liquidity, grow the organization as a whole. And as you could see from one of the previous charts, you're going to be needing this money with all the repairs that you have on the manholes and the growth that's occurring. It's very enlightening, if you would, to see that your net assets are available as they are today. Continuing down, your total capital contributions, your total capital contributions this past year were at 340. But if you add up the total capital contributions over the past 5 years, adding the 340, the 1 million, the 1.3, the 4, that's $5.9 million in capital contributions that have come in to the organization over this period. So again, same old word, tremendous growth, yet maintaining strong liquidity during this time. So all in all, how did you end when it comes down to a business revenues over expenditures? We did have $5.4 million in total revenues over expenditures this year. Last year, you had 4.7. Year before that, 2.6, 500, and 5.3. All in all, just this past year, the last 2 years, you brought in $10.2 million in revenues over expenditures to handle the growth and the needs and the repairs. And over the 5-year period, you have been able to retain $18.5 million of the revenues over expenditures in order to handle the growth and the needs going forward. Let me touch on just a couple, and again, I'll ask you not to move over there, but I just wanted to point out a couple of items that should be of interest. One, you do have a pension plan. Again, back in 2015, you adopted the pension recognition provision where the liabilities related to pension plans were required to be reflected on the financial statement. At your leisure, if you'll mark that on page 50, is where you would be reviewing your pension liability. And you all are the only organization I think I have ever seen in my life that actually has a current pension liability of $7.9 million. And that's your liability. That's how much we expect to pay out. And your assets are sitting at a present value of 8.6. You actually have an overfunded pension of $706,000 based on the actuary assessment that is identified on page 50. And by the way, that's with a discount rate that's very high. It's up at 8%. In looking at the Texas pension analysis that's put out by the Pension Review Board, there's very few organizations that have a discount rate, a pension rate as high as 8%. Most of them are at 7 or 7.5%. If you were to drop yours back to, I'm going to say in the ballpark of what most of the other ones are, you would still be only $400,000 underfunded, which still puts you at about 99% funded ratio. So again, pat on your back, you are extremely well funded in the pension plan. And quite honestly, especially for a municipality of any type, most municipalities are either barely funded at 80% or underfunded at 40 and 50%. And your organization is overfunded. You're over 100% funded. So did want to bring that to your attention. And again, that's what what is reflected there. Are there any questions? I think that really, if I was sitting in your shoes, I believe I summarized what's important at this degree for the organization as a whole. Are there any questions at this point on the financial numbers? Everything's mooted. Well, with that being stated, then let me just go to the last report that I have, and that's the management letter. We have issued a management letter every year, and this year, our management letter, and again, I could just point this out. If you have it, great. If you don't, no problem. Last year, we talked about your software-related items, and this year, we wanted to point out that the account balances this year appear to be reconciled on a timely basis. So in simple English, that's a pat on the back. Good job, you've corrected it. Account reconciliations, we mentioned an issue in the prior year. This year, we're stating that the account reconciled to the general ledgers as of September 30th. So again, pat on the back, the issues have been rectified. Finally, in regards to the staff, we had concerns in the past regarding the accounting department and the level of capacity. This year, we're very happy to say that we believe everybody related and in the accounting department has full capacity in relation to their position. They were able to give us the information much more timely. COVID interfered with us this year and has caused much of the delay. But as far as the financials and the lack of adjustments, the accounting department, I think, did an excellent job this year. The only item that we're suggesting has to do with capital assets. You all do a very good job of tracking your capital assets, your major improvements, but they're done on an Excel worksheet. And forgive me for using this term, but it's kind of an archaic way of handling things, and it's very, very time consuming, and it's human error prone. Not that you have issues related, but what we're getting at is there's so many more software and new technology out there that we would highly recommend that you consider looking at a capital asset software package. And I think that would relieve a tremendous amount of time that is spent with the Excel file and be able to convert it to a software system that handles it for you. And quite honestly, that's the only statement that we feel that we need to mention. So I love using this statement. It ain't broke. It don't need much fixing. So continue the good work. After that, are there any statements?
No, this looks really good. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
No question.
Go ahead, Mr. Carrasco.
I was gonna say no questions. Very, very nice.
I'm sorry, it is. It's really well. And
Yeah.
it says a lot about the entity and as well as for you, Mr. Abriones, and the staff in putting this report together. Thank you. You know, we're used to having issues sometimes, not that
Correct.
not that we want them and that we're proud of them, but you know, I gotta hand it to Mr. Grijalva and Mr. Hernandez and the entire staff that were a part of this audit and made this through. This says a lot about where Lower Valley Water District was at and where we're heading and where we're at right now. So yeah, this is great. Thank you. Mr. Trujillo, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, man. It's pretty well. We're doing great. Looks good. So I guess Mr. Grijalva and his staff are doing great. Mr. Grijalva.
Mr. Estrada,
No questions.
Mr. Chavez?
Just to state, to provide kudos to Mr. Hernandez and his team. I know it's been a challenge for the past couple of years trying to reconcile and getting caught up on all these audits, but congratulations, you're doing a wonderful job. The only request that I would make is I did not get a hard copy of Mr. Peña's statement here. So if I could get a hard copy, I'd appreciate it. That's
Yes,
all. Thank
sir.
you, ma'am.
And we'll also put it on your iPads tonight so that you've got it tomorrow.
We appreciate it. And then we all need to remember, we had a pandemic that we had to face. And, you know, the staff and, you know, the GM and the entire staff, Mr. Hernandez, you and your team did an excellent job in going through what you went through during this pandemic to see to it that this came out the way it's come out. Thank you so much. And I'm sure, Mr. Pena, you agree.
That's completely, I couldn't have said it better. We were just very pleased, and forgive me, I'll even say surprised, because we did expect, you know, more difficulties as a result, and the opposite occurred. And
Right.
especially, that's why I love the 5-year analysis. It is showing that you all have been able to handle such tremendous growth and do it so efficiently. So congratulations.
Thank you. And Mr. Peña, we're going to have a hard time getting some money around Mr. Hernandez, but we'll be sure and purchase that software you're asking.
Okay.
Well, anything else, Mr. Pena?
No, that should cover it. I really appreciate y'all and appreciate the opportunity to work with y'all.
Teresa, anything? Well, thanks to all of you for what you've done, and we appreciate it. And if anybody else has any questions, this is the time to ask. If not, we'll move on to the, I guess we need to, approve. I personally would like to so move to approve the fiscal year 2020 financial statement audit as presented to us. And
I'll second the motion.
everyone did an excellent job. It's been seconded by Mr. Carrasco, I believe.
Mr. Estrada. Mr. Chavez.
Mr.
Yes.
Chavez, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Again, Mr. Briones, thank you so much. Mr. Pena.
No problem. Thank you all. It's good to
Okay.
see y'all. You take care, and thanks for all the great work. Bye now.
And Mr. Hernandez, thank you. You have so much to
Yeah.
be proud of. Not that you're going to get a raise right now, okay? But thank you. All righty. Item 14, discussion and possible action to approve the interlocal agreement with Isleta de Su Pueblo for wastewater services. Mr. Flores, welcome.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board and staff, and Mr. Blanco. Unfortunately, I am asking for this item to be tabled again. I was hoping that I was going to get the contract from the Pueblo yesterday. Unfortunately, it did not make it into our box, so I will reach out to them, and hopefully I'll be presenting this item at our next board meeting.
Ma'am, can we still ask questions? Because I was trying to review the contract that was provided to us, and I had a couple of questions. Mainly that infrastructure, the sewer lines, the water lines. When it's all said and done, does that belong to the Pueblo, or does it become property of Lower Valley Water District?
It belongs to us, but they're funding additional funding so that we can fix some deficiencies that they found. However, because it's their money, their engineer gets to choose how they're going to spend it. Eventually, they will dedicate it to us, but we don't have control over how we're going to spend the money. Their engineer is going to tell us, here's what we want you to do, and that's what we have to do.
So then they have the right to decide exactly how that's going to be dispersed, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
But they keep
We'll
us
manage it all
informed at
for them, but that they have the right to decide that.
Especially when it's on the Pueblo, it is federal property of this. So we have to be very careful of how we craft this because of that situation, because they're still a sovereign nation.
Right.
And that's
Okay.
all. So the follow-up question to that is, do we get to tax them or charge them any kind of fees or for the maintenance of the infrastructure? Over?
Yes.
Well, we charge them the bill, right? They're going to be paying the sewer bills and water bills. Yeah.
I think what Mr. Chavez is saying, once everything's in there, but like you say, they'll be paying for the water, the service actually.
Well,
Yeah, but
basically, they already have the services. they want to improve them, if that's the proper word. They saw some deficiencies, they want to improve them, and they're willing to give us the money to improve them, but we have to improve them their way.
Okay, we see. So no, Mr. Chavez, we won't be making money off of this other than from the service that we already provide.
Yes,
And this
Correct.
funding is going to be, which means it's not going to come out of our operating cost or any other account. This comes directly from them. So it's a win-win situation, actually.
win-win, I love it. And at the
Yeah.
same time, I don't think it's going to cost as much as they want it to cost. So there's some money there that's going to be left over for other things, and we'll talk to them about it.
And I believe you all had a meeting and ran this engineering committee, correct?
Yes.
We have.
Okay, and I believe that the engineering committee probably is recommending that you all, Mr. Trujillo and Mr. Estrada, I believe both of you are in agreement with this process and in hopes that we do go ahead and go along with it, correct?
We
Yeah.
are.
Okay. Mr. Chavez, you have any other questions?
No, ma'am. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Carrasco?
No questions.
And I know that the engineering committee, Mr. Estrada, Mr. Trujillo don't. So if everyone is okay with it, I so move as president to approve the interlocal agreement with.
Ms. Villa,
No, we
he
need
wants
to
to
table
table.
it.
He wants to
Table
table.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're asking to
Yeah.
table the item. I so moved to table the item. Sorry.
I'll second it.
It's been seconded by
Trujillo.
Mr. Trujillo. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Forrest. Item 15, discussion and possible action regarding dedication and closing documents for Valley Ranch Estate subdivision. Daniel.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Oh.
This is for the final dedication of the subdivision, which is located on Clean Cutoff Road between North Loop and Fenter Road. This is the Icon property. So they finished the project probably a year ago, but this is gonna bring this brought 7 new water services, and it's around 2,300 linear feet of pipe of water, 8-inch and 12-inch. And the reason why we're barely bringing it to the board for final acceptance is because it was pending a water leak fee. So we finally received the payment like 4 weeks ago. And that's the reason why we're bringing this item to the board. So everything has been completed. We went and checked the project. Everything meets our specs. Our inspectors and the engineering department went and checked everything out that it's up to our specs. So I'm bringing this for final dedication to the district, this water line. And if you have any questions, I would like to recommend final acceptance on this subdivision.
I have no questions.
No questions.
Mr. Trujillo?
Nope.
No question.
So am I okay now by saying that I so moved to approve this
You
item?
are, Rosie.
Send it to us. It's been
I
moved
believe so, yeah. I second, David Carrasco.
and seconded by Mr. Carrasco. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 16, I so move to move this side. I'm just joking. Discussion and possible action regarding resuming district travel. Mr. Grijalva.
Ma'am, in light of a previous discussion, we can either table the item or you can discuss it, but I don't think there's no need to discuss it at this time. We can table it until such a time as the respective committees, which is HR, Finance, and my goodness, there's somebody missing.
Right, human resources.
Infrastructure, get to decide that it's safe to travel.
Okay, and actually, I think it's okay to discuss because you can always bring it back to the board. I think so that the board is aware, we've had this discussion regarding this item, and it's good to hear what all you others as directors feel. But personally, as board president, I just don't feel that we're ready to open up to travel, because here we are talking that we want to save money, and we know Mr. Hernandez's ears are listening very carefully right now. And we can't open this up to saying we're already ready to travel. You know, here we have to set the example as an entity saying, yeah, we're back to work and people are working, but we're trying to keep them as safe as possible. But then it's going to be okay to start traveling when, virtual has done great with all kinds of entities, with the federal government, with the local government, with the state government. And I'm amazed of how I think entities and businesses have learned that you can get this done. I just don't feel comfortable in saying we're going to open up and, okay, guys, everybody, let's start seeing what conference and what training we can start going. I'm not ready for that. So personally, I like to know what the rest of you have to say. Mr. Trujillo?
Well, I'm with you. I mean, I don't think we're ready to travel. We better stay safe as well as we have done. So I'm with you all.
Mr. Carrasco?
Well, I think you just need to keep evaluating. If it's, I think maybe looking at it, maybe what type of travel, and if it's in Texas, because Texas to me is 100% open. But I'm not saying just that, open, hey, we're going to start traveling just to travel. But I think pretty soon, sooner or later, some of their operators may need to be getting some training. I'm not sure if it has to be done in person, but like I said, the state is completely open 100%. But I think we should still evaluate it.
I think the state is open 100% because I think it's considered politics. It's a political issue. I think if we had a governor that sat on a different seat, I don't think the state would be open. So I think the state's open based on that. But you're right. I think that we can look at it. But I think we need to look at virtual first and see. There's no reason why people cannot take, depending on the training though, mechanics and all that, you need to be careful. But other than that, I strongly believe that, let's waive our options and see where it gets us in the next month or so. I think right now, I don't think I'm ready to do this. Mr. Chavez?
I agree with the rest of the board members. I think it's too early to start traveling. I know that in my organization within the federal government, we're still conducting everything using Microsoft Teams or Zoom or virtual meetings. So we're planning, coordinating, even the training, unless it's absolutely necessary. If you're having to have a face-to-face discussion, I think we're allowing no more than 49% of the work group go into the offices, and we're not traveling at all. It's on a case-by-case basis. So I'm against traveling at this point. Over.
Mr. Strada, I think you're the only one left.
Just stay safe. That's all we can do.
Right. Okay, so I guess with that in mind right now, I guess we'll go ahead and hold off on this. So Steve, do we need to table this or just go ahead and say that we're not in agreement with this at the moment and then we can bring it back at another time?
Either way, you can vote. You can take action on it to vote not to approve it, or you can just table it. It's up to you all.
Okay. I think just to be on the safe side, I think I'm going to go ahead and move that we do not approve this, with the understanding, Mr. Grijalva, that we can always bring it back at another date. You can discuss it with your different committees, and then we can elect. But let's give it at least till maybe June, July, and look at it. Okay. So that was in a form of a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that motion.
Seconded by Mr. Chavez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. El Carrasco quiere ir a los Astro games. That's why.
Yes.
Item 17, discussion and possible action to dispose of 3 district vehicles, cooling, heating system, brass, and miscellaneous supplies. Mr. Grijalva?
Rosa, right? Who's doing it?
It says Mr. Grijalva, so I don't know.
You can do it. Okay, the administration is seeking board authorization to auction 3 vehicles, 2 garbage trucks and 1 F-250. These vehicles have been decommissioned. Under separate cover, the board members were provided with a vehicle assessment inspection report completed by our mechanic shop. Also, the district would also like to auction off some cooling and heating systems, brass, and miscellaneous supplies. Do board members have any questions?
Yes, ma'am. This is Rod Chavez. I could see that we need to probably get rid of those 2 the heavy trucks, the trash trucks. But the F-250, even though there was a rating on it, I know it's about 13 years old. It looked like it was still, you could still, it's usable, but it didn't specify what kind of problems it had.
Yeah, it needs a new engine, and the engine will cost more than the truck's value.
Oh, okay. Well, then there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
They should have put that in the report.
That's simple.
Yeah, that wasn't clear. I just saw a rating, but that could, it
Yeah.
didn't specify what was wrong with it.
What year is it?
It's 2010.
Yeah, it's service purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, so if no one has any questions, do I hear a motion to approve this item?
I'll make the motion to approve.
It's been moved by Mr. Chavez. Do I hear a second?
I'll second David Carrasco.
Seconded by Mr.
There you go.
Carrasco. Oops, sorry, I hit the mute button. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 18, discussion and possible action to approve Santiago Bustamante Avenue wastewater improvement.
Hello. Since item number 14 was tabled for the interlocal agreement between Lower Valley and Isleta del Sur Pueblo, I would like to also table this item since this is for engineering services, which is CM services. So yeah,
Okay.
I would like to proceed with that.
If no one has any questions or objects to that, I so move to table this item.
I'll second it.
And seconded by Mr. Trujillo. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Daniel. Item 19, executive session. The Board of Directors will retire in executive session pursuant to sections 551.071 through 551.076 Texas Government Code to discuss any of the following sections: 551.071, 551.07. I mean, whoa. I think it's 551.
072, that's a typo.
Yeah, 072. I was going, whoa.
Sure.
551.074. Discussion regarding personnel, pending personnel matters. Discussion regarding real estate update for El Paso Water District #1 project. It is 7:39. We'll exit out and log into the executive session. Thank you.
Leading.
For a minute there, I thought you guys didn't want to let me in.
I'm sorry about that. I was using the restroom.
I just thought that maybe you were helping Mr. Trujillo out.
Looks like we,
Okay, the board's back in session. There was no action taken in executive session. Item 20, I'm sorry, it's 7:58 PM. Item 20, discussion and possible action regarding real estate update for El Paso County Water District Improvement Number 1 project. I so move that we allow Mr. Grijalva to continue the discussions regarding this property and negotiate and come back to the board.
I'll second the motion.
It's been seconded by who?
Mr. Carrasco.
Mr. Carrasco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 21, I so move to adjourn. Now, not everybody jump in at once. Don't fight for a second, okay?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
It's because we don't want to leave yet. We don't want to leave yet.
Oh, yeah, right. All the, seconded by Mr. Chavez. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. It's 8 PM. Everyone have a good evening, what's left of it. Enjoy, stay safe, be careful, and thank you all for everything, especially our financial audit report. That was great. Thank you. God bless you, and good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.